Hello, and welcome back to 33 Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Michael Abney, and today I'm joined by Paul. Paul is the founder of ALKAA Industries. Paul is pioneering what he calls drinking wellness, helping people enjoy what they drink without compromising how they actually feel, especially the next day. Paul, hello, and welcome to the pod. How are you doing today?
Good, Michael. I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. I really appreciate you taking the time. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it is. I love having these conversations, especially something where we're delving into something new like we're doing today. So thank you for being a part of the pod, bringing your story to us, and I can't wait to share it. When we talked earlier in our pre-call, what stood out to me was that this was not some sort of idea that you just kind of had. It wasn't some brainstorming idea for new revenue coming into your life. It actually began with your own body giving you feedback that didn't quite make sense to you. You were drinking all the water, doing all the things people tell us to do that are recommended us, but some are recommended to us if we want to go out and enjoy ourselves for the evening. But something still felt off for you. And instead of accepting that standard explanation, you started treating it like a system to understand, not a problem to fix. And that made sense to me, especially when you share with me your background as a mechanic, where you're used to diagnosing problems. My dad was a mechanic, so I know that thinking. And you were asking what is actually causing this, which is asking a question instead of deflecting like blame or going into resignation, which there's no possibility there. You chose another route. And
Yeah.
now here we are, years later, the science worked, the lab testing is there, the patent is there, but the transformation you're in the middle of seems a little different. It's no longer just how can I solve this, but it's how can I help people trust something that they've never even had an actual category for. So I want to start here with what transformation are you in the middle of inside of this context of what you're creating?
Michael, that's you nailed it, first of all. But the transformation that we're in now is really building trust with people who enjoy alcohol moderately, to not just educate them, but let them know that there's solutions for you not feeling well after you drink a beer, a glass of wine, or a dram of whiskey. And it's kind of crazy. Like this journey we've been on is pretty fascinating. But again, that transformation is we've done the diagnosing, we've tested, we've validated. We know there's a market for it because a lot of people they just don't feel good after a glass of wine. And
Yeah.
um, and now that we have a product that I know solves the problem, that's the tricky part, right? Of letting the industry, and not even the industry, Michael, just letting people know that there's a solution to that awful flushing, or that headache, or that heartburn that you get from a sip of whiskey, or just the poor sleep after enjoying a margarita at the Mexican restaurant, right?
So we're talking about something that could be touchy for somebody listening to, because there's so many narratives that are pre-existing in the world about alcohol, consuming it. You're this if you do, and you're this if you don't, and you're blah, 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 blah. Today, we're not talking about any of that. That's not what this show is about. It's talking about something that you loved in your life. Like I never thought I enjoyed wine until I started drinking it and understanding more and more about it. But I actually did enjoy wine. Hard liquor, no, I can't really do that anymore. Before I met you, I went the resignation route. Like, okay, just going to be the good boy, and I'm just going to cut most of that out of my life. I never really had an alcohol. I never had an alcohol problem, even though that was sort of in our family. It just was something. Alcohol was not something. It was part of something connective to people. I'm an introvert kind of, I know it's weird to talk doing a podcast, but basically I'm introverted in life. not that was a crutch or anything. So we're already touching on these like fabric of
Yeah,
these narratives and feeling guilty, even being able to talk about it. But what I want to hone in on is the space inside your body that was telling you, like mine was just like, you don't need to think about this. This is your time doing that was over, and now you live life like this. And but I also found myself not wanting to go out to being around large crowds, or there was just something about it that I hadn't quite resolved. I'm better at it now, obviously, that I was in the past, but that's a real thing for people, the social anxiety. But again, I want to be really aware and cognitive that that's not what we're chatting about today. We're chatting about your journey and following something that was intuitive for you to explore that was inside your body. So a lot of us are having these ideas about something collapses in the world. You might have
yeah,
noticed,
yeah,
but new things also emerge simultaneously, just part of how life works. It's the new solutions start to happen. So there are people doing this without a context of, I don't have a story or a reference point of other people doing this particular type of journey where we're actually following our intuition, our guts, are literally, and
yeah.
our body and wanting to explore and understand something. So I know that's how that started with you. Can you share with me about what that beginning process was? What turned this from something that was in the background to something you actually noticed and started to actively work with?
Yeah. I think that you kind of nailed it with the background. I'm a lot like you, Michael, with my relationship with alcohol. It was just it was something I enjoyed. Um, I think we've all have, you know, things that in our past or in our family, right, where alcohol is just, oh, it can be a touchy subject, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, we're not talking about that. But my relationship with alcohol was interesting because I enjoyed it, but it always made me feel just not good. And I mean that not because I'm over drinking, but because just physically, I would have these reactions to different alcohols, but I never thought about a solution. It was just like if I mowed the lawn on a Saturday or a Sunday and it was hot out, I'd have a beer or two, a cold beer, nothing tastes better. I would get super tired and I would usually get a headache a couple hours later. That was the price that I paid for enjoying the beer. I really stayed away from wine because I would have what they call now what's called a cocktail headache, which is kind of an immediate to 3 hours where you get reactions really quick, and then it just lasts for the evening and then usually the next day. So I stayed away from wine. I really started to enjoy whiskey, in my early 30s, but the heartburn, the head, the poor sleep. So there was this relationship with alcohol, and really when I look back now, I was just what I call it the alcohol tax, right? You enjoy it, but you're gonna pay for it. And that really, I was in my mid 40s, and it just started getting it was worse. It wasn't getting better. The older I got, the worse it became, to the point to where, like you mentioned, alcohol can be a it can kind of stress you out based on your based on what you're doing, right? I was in sales for over 20 years, and if we did an evening dinner at a trade show, or you're taking clients out and there's wine, um, it was, you pour some and again, to fit in, right? You're
Yeah.
just, you're doing it because you don't want to be the odd guy out. And again, no alcoholics, just part of the evening. They'd be like, like, let's get a bottle of wine. So you get some wine. And then, Michael, that evening, I would go back to the hotel room. I would pound ibuprofen. water, just in preparation for waking up early the next morning, getting to the show. But I was never there 100%, right? It was just, I'm not operating because I didn't get good sleep. Um, but again, I wasn't connecting any of this to a potential solution. It was just my relationship with Al. And then one day, Sarah and I, we were moving cross country. We stopped for dinner and we had a glass of wine. I had a glass of wine, and it really I got that instant headache. I'm trying to enjoy this huge move, and it just kind of ruined the evening, right? And then the
Yeah.
next day, I just had that, that dull, general malaise feeling where you're just like, I'm not there 100%. I wanted to be, but I wasn't. And that's where Alka really started. I was irritated that I couldn't enjoy this road trip that we were on. And I knew that it was going to be hours and hours of just, you know, trying to you just push through it. You just push
Yeah.
through. And that was my kind of breakthrough moment of like, I'm gonna solve this problem. Cause I was kind of irritated, like
Yeah.
I'm at the stop drinking, which I don't want to do because I don't. And
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see how
uh,
this ties into all of these weird things? But like your journey was authentically different. And so you're like, when we were talking, I related to like, oh my God, that's where I just like chose this, or it chose it for me because I thought A and B was the only thing that I had to choose from. And you created a C that
yeah,
was like, I know I'm not this, and I did enjoy that. It wasn't for this. It wasn't for anything. It was just because I enjoyed it. Like, I know what you're talking about, but the wine, there's something about the feeling or the energy of things for me that I sense in it, but like I can't even look at red wine without getting a migraine. Like it's
it's
not
for real.
only it's for real. There's
Yeah,
something in it but that spark
yeah,
started you down a journey that was more than just a feeling. You took it into like where the mechanic side of you took into that what we were talking about, the it's so rare on the planet now, is to critically think about something.
yes,
And see, that's what I didn't do. You did. And here we are, like using that skill set to like do a deeper dive and start questioning even the paradigm that we exist in, because it's not healthy for us to not be able to communicate something like
yeah,
that without all of the weirdness. And I'm like, even preparing for today, even having these conversations, I am like crystal clear about the perception that we're having a conversation inside of. And I'll
yeah,
just kind of leave that at that. And we're keeping going. You had the spark, something
yeah.
started that dive. So that spark to your testing and getting results back. What's that loop like now that you're starting to, what's that timeline look like for you? And what were you feeling when you started to connect your patterns with proof?
Mm. Yeah, the feeling was feelings of really being overwhelmed, right? Because as an ex mechanic, right? I don't think that ever leaves your DNA. I really like to fix things and tinker in the garage. And if there was an issue with anything, I would attack it. You know, and thanks to YouTube and the internet, you can do quite a bit of stuff that you had no idea you could. And if you have even a little bit of ambition, right? Of like, I'm really going to fix this. But this was different because I was used to fixing things physically, a lawnmower. But when it came to the body, I, I was, I had no idea where to even start. So, as the mechanic brain, I'm like, okay, there's a problem. And the problem is I just don't feel good when I drink. Um, and I feel different when I drink different things. So I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? A beer makes me really tired. A wine gives me a migraine, but scotch gives me heartburn. Okay. So why? And that's where it was during COVID. There was no AI. It was just good old fashioned Google.
Good
And I
old
just
fashioned
started,
Google.
I just, uh, I just started diving deep into, um, you mentioned A, B, and C. A is drink more water. B is stop drinking. I didn't want to. I was doing the water thing. Trust me, as well as millions of other people have tried, and it just doesn't seem to work. I didn't want to stop drinking. Again, that's a whole nother conversation, but I think we can enjoy alcohol moderately. C is what is causing the problem. And what I found that if you ask somebody what in alcohol mm, is causing all of these problems, most people are going to say it's the alcohol, it's the ethanol. And this is my kind of line in the sand, Michael, where I was like, it's not the alcohol. If you drink a lot of alcohol, it will kill you, right? Like you need to drink a lot of ethanol. A toxic dose of ethanol is like a liter of ethanol. You need to drink it pretty quick. But a toxic dose of acetaldehyde, which is in alcohol, is like a grain of rice. And acetaldehyde, along with histamines and sulfites and tannins and tyramines and phenethylamine and quercetin, they're all byproducts of fermentation. That was my moment or where I'm like, okay, so let's just take these seven things that are in all of these medical journals and articles that I'm reading, um, sciencey stuff, Michael, like stuff where I'm reading these reports and they're like the effects of um, acetaldehyde, on hangovers, and I'm like, whoa, what? Okay, this is like this is where I need to be.
Hmm.
So that again, mechanic brain of like, well, what is acetaldehyde? What is a histamine? What is a sulfite? Right? Because for years I would drink a glass of wine. You look at the label on the back and it says contains sulfites, so I blame it on the sulfites. Right?
Hmm.
Um, and then that's where I'm like, okay, I think we found the problem. The problem are these trace compounds from fermentation. Nobody's fault. It's just yeast and sugar get together, creates the alcohol. Well, here's the little byproducts that are there. It's like, well, what if we eliminate them, or what if we reduce them enough to where your body can actually have a chance to process um, the alcohol? A- And the timeline, it took about 18 months. Recipes, ordering things from all over the world, right? Getting stuff in, little, ingredients that I think are going to work to basically capture um, a tyramine, right?
Hmm.
Stuff that I had no idea about. Uh, and I would self test. Like I would test it on myself. So I'd come up with a recipe. I'd test it on myself, which really was not very fun because it just didn't work for a long time. But I was feeling better, but it was a process, right? So there was a day when I think I was like, I think I figured it out. So Sarah and I went out to dinner. We ordered a bottle of wine, which, man, I don't think we'd ever done before, just the two of us, right? Like a bottle of red wine. That's crazy talk. Um, we enjoyed dinner, enjoyed the wine, did the ALKAA ritual, right? And like what you had mentioned before, we woke up with zero, like we forgot we drank. So that was the moment. I'll never forget it. And I was like, I think we got something here. Like this is it, because we physically are removing these trace compounds without changing the taste, without changing the pH balance, without removing the alcohol. We're not messing. I don't want to mess with the alcohol. I
Yeah,
enjoy
just the
enjoy
fermentation part.
part, just the fermentation part. That was that was the moment where I was like, wow, this is an absolute game changer for me. I will not have any more Sunday mornings where I drank the night before, but I'm in bed or just laying on the couch because I feel so awful. No more. Those days are gone. And that was huge for me because if I have my Sundays for now forever, or my Monday or my Saturdays or whatever day it is now, because you don't need to stress about drinking. You can just enjoy a glass of wine because you're treating the drink, not your body. Most things on the market, they treat the body. You pre-game your body, you pre-game your liver with potions and pills and prods and all this stuff. And I tried a lot of that. Or you post game your body with pills and potions and drinks, and right before they're like, after you drink, you need to drink this before you go to bed. Um, I not eliminated the body, but I kind of took the body out of the equation and I just focused on the drink because that's where the problem's at. That's
Yeah.
where it's at. That was the kind of the mechanic moment of there's a, hey, my car doesn't work, fix it. And I was like, my body doesn't work, fix it. Oh, well, it doesn't work because what you're putting in your body is poisoning it. So let's remove those things or reduce them considerably, and let's see how that works.
Yeah, it's it's reminding me of other processes. Like, so you're doing that. You took that fundamental thing, how we took alcohol and made that all about ourselves. And what you did was took ourselves out of it, or
But
yourself out of it,
yeah,
and like, okay, what's left is okay, this thing in front of me that's fermenting, and can my body just metabolize alcohol or process alcohol and not have an issue with that? Like something in there. What was your journey? What did it teach you about trusting you said you used yourself as the, as the tester. How did that help you with your observations? How did that validate what came back for you when you started to get, so you had the moment and I'm sure you tested it when you
yep,
started getting the proof, and then the patent happened, that process where you got to where you're at now. What was that like, for just from the element of trusting yourself and that confidence, because you couldn't have done it at the beginning because you were throwing spaghetti at the wall, sort of,
yeah,
right? So how
yeah,
did it switch from that part? Because a lot of us can't get past throwing spaghetti at the wall
yeah. Okay, so spaghetti's going against the wall. I started feeling better, like
consistently, right?
consistently, but then imposter syndrome sets in, and then also the placebo effect because the placebo is real, right? I've got a physical media, this filter media that I've got, and I'm putting it in the drink. Is that placebo? Like, is my brain right? And then I'm like, well, alcohol's been around for thousands of years. I'm not getting any reactions after drinking. I get all the benefits of my glass of wine, right? I feel great, the skin, right? But then who am I to figure this out? And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there in New York with those feelings, right? Of there's spaghetti on the wall. There's the placebo effect that I'm like, it's probably, I don't know. And then the imposter syndrome of like, there's millions of people that are way smarter than me. Why haven't they figured this out? What do I do with this? Right. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so then kind of the mechanic, and then, you know, s- the mechanic guy was done, right? The mechanic part of me. Now it was the analytical part of, well, how do we really test this? And like, how do we, how do I prove it?
Prove it. Yes. How do you prove it? That's the next step. So whether that's a physical thing or an online thing, it's still the same thing. So you're in the proof stage, but you're trying to prove something that's not, that doesn't fit inside of the bubble that we're all taught, because you're inventing something outside of the paradigm of A and B.
Nailed it.
So
So this is where it got fun because I'm reading I'm reading all of these studies about what's in alcohol. So I know there's things in alcohol that affect people differently, right? There's like 40 different things that um, people feel after they drink. Some serious, some not. So that part was done. Now it's finding. I was like, well, I need to find a laboratory to do a before readings and after readings on my what I call my big seven, right? My seven toxins that I know are affecting how I feel. So I throw it out on Google, like laboratories for testing um, alcohol. I don't even remember what I said. So I ended up using a company that they're like a broker. They're like, we'll find a lab for you. You just tell us what you want. We'll find a lab. And so I used them, and they came back with just two labs. I'm sure there's more, but one was in China. They do a lot of alcohol testing, and one was in Washington State. And so I reached out to them, and I was like, "Here's what I want to do." Um, they were lovely. They do food FDA testing. Um, they'd never done anything like this, but they're like, "There's protocols for testing histamines in foods and drinks and sulfites." And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, then let's go. Like, let's. This is
Let's
this,
yeah.
because now I'm going to have numbers." Um, so we sent it, and I was so nervous, Michael.
I
I can't tell
know.
you like the stress of like f- and the numbers came back, and there were some really serious reductions in those big seven. It was pretty awesome. It was a really good feeling of where I uh you kind of have that moment where you're like, we fixed it and we proved it, and now we're like, maybe we should patent it because
Yeah,
this
hell
this,
yeah. You
this
can't be
could be
talking. I've
could
seen
be a
enough Shark Tank
business.
to know this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this could be a really a nice little business for Sarah and I to exit out of what we were doing, um, and create a product that genuinely makes people feel better.
And just it's just the way I identify Sarah. Sarah's your wife, right?
Sarah's my wife. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife.
I
Yeah.
didn't want I'm just I
Yep.
want to be I want to be clear because I know I have that question. I know people listening are like, "Who the hell is Sarah?"
Who is this lady?
But Sarah's part
Uh,
of the ride. She's a how great to have a partner that's in this with you too.
oh
Like
man,
that's
the best
awesome.
step. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So I know that was a long answer to your question, but that was
no,
an important part of the story.
it's huge. So once you have that, most people think once you have the proof that it's naturally going to connect with an audience. And that is the fundamental mistake. I think it's the edge of where so many of us are at with like, okay, I have proof this, but like, why the hell is this not resonating or connecting? There's just this micro thing that we, for me, it's you're taught if you just do these certain things, it's all going to work out. It's very similar to what that angst or that thing that you have with alcohol. I have that with this very space right here
Yeah.
about how do you convey your wisdom, your authority about your confidence about what it is that you figured out being outside of the boxes of what was told possible. There are
Yes.
people, we need people like us that think outside that realm
Yeah.
because I know where they're not at is inside the box. So
Yeah.
it has to be outside of it. So, but
Mhm.
there's just this narrative, these things that we live inside of, they're invisible, but they're so frigging powerful about how they
Yeah.
contain our speech, how we express ourselves, because that fear of being cut down by another person, like, or an idea, or like you did something wrong, in class, and that all of that exists in this little space that we're talking about.
So true.
And yeah, so
Oh, that's really tough. And I think what really helped me to get through off that edge and keep pushing was reading founders' stories, um, maybe like, the guys that came up with Airbnb, right? That's crazy. Like, you read this story and they're like, "Hey, we just wanna rent out, a bedroom with a mattress." That's our model, right? People thought they were insane, crazy. You have hotels, right? Uber. Uber was never a thing. Uber is a thing. It's not only just a thing, like that there's these paradigms, these paradigm shifts in industries where it's never like, "Oh, we're gonna um normal people can drive cars to pick people up to take them places." That's not normal. That's a paradigm shift, and it's never accepted like that. Computers, same thing. Cars, same thing. Um, the internet, same thing, right? All of these massive paradigm shifts are fraught with these founders or inventors that are like, no, guys, trust me. No, this is going to work. This is going to work. Or, that there's failures and there's, um, you know, th- companies shut down, but they started, right? All of these things. And I kind of put myself in, I was like, just chill out. You've got a great product that really helps people feel better. And I focus on that because, Michael, and I know this, it sounds silly, but I feel so good after I drink. And by feeling so good, I just don't feel bad. That I want everybody to feel that way. And I'm not being cheesy. I'm just being real because I've, for decades, ruined so many next days and evenings for no reason. The reason was all of these little byproducts were affecting my physiology. They just needed to be removed or reduced. And and when you have the opportunity to enjoy your friends and your family and your time, um, and not pay the price, it changes. It it kind of changes your life because you can
Yep.
you can just enjoy your day, and that's what I just want people to feel that way.
Well, yes, and and there has to be a level of being where you're at now and having lived through that experience that's also giving you something. Just the act of following it, just the act of being outside that stream, you've built a muscle that you did something that 99.9% of the people never even dream about thinking about doing, let alone actually doing. And I agree with you about sharing the stories. It's why I have a podcast. It's because I think it's so freaking important to have these conversations because there's so many people that have ideas that the world needs, their version of it, even if it's a smaller niche of people, that is so important. How many ideas never got past the
Yeah.
resignation? Like, and if they would have seen something or had a spark, something, I believe you
Hmm.
can't stop anything from really happening that doesn't want to happen. But like, there's so much right now. I believe that just the lids off of, in that experiment, the fleas in the jar, they take the lid up, but they won't go past it, even though it's gone. I believe that's gone for us. We just have to learn to like, get out of the box for just a little while to see what it's like to experience all of that and then be here now. What would you tell somebody, as we begin to wrap this up? What would you share with somebody about your experience of not stopping? You didn't let anything stop you during this, and there's a million things I know that could have stopped you. What
Yeah.
kept you going through all of that?
Um, what keeps me going?
What kept you going through
I
all of
think I
this?
think I think, Michael, that I know I know how good I feel now, and it's been over 3 years of just feeling amazing. What's kept me going? Well, let me answer this two ways. What kept me going during the process, um,
Mhm.
not being scared, right? And then
Mhm.
watching the YouTube videos on founders stories and inventors and normal guys, normal people doing awesome things and just not being scared, right? Be like, it's okay. You can do this. You can read, you can understand some stuff. You've got a drive and a passion. Like, it's okay. Don't be scared. Um, and now what's keeping us going now is now that we've we've done all the what I call what I thought was hard work. Like, we've got the product. It works. It's proven. It's patented. That's not the hard work, Michael. The hard work now is getting the word
Yeah.
out there in a
Yeah.
world that is we've never this much social media and avenues to do things, but it still makes things extremely difficult. Like, we could do ads and stuff, but I think now is just building trust,
It's
talking to
building trust.
people,
Yeah.
right? And for me, podcasts, but not just podcasts, like getting Alka in people's hands, and then trusting the product, um, and trusting people to basically start a new ritual and a new relationship with alcohol. That's the hardest part. Is
Yeah.
that's far the hardest part, because alcohol has such a um it affects so many people in so many different ways currently, and in the past, that can make it really tricky. So we're just, yeah, the hard part is getting people to trust that you can enjoy a glass of wine,
Yeah.
um and not pay the price for it.
And in essence, like it just popped in my head was is what you did with alcohol. You're almost having to do with human beings. Like, you have a listening. We all have a listening for how people is. It's true. Our attention spans of just keep, you know, I know in my heart that, the true value is as us. And it's the value is our ability to do what you did. But that took focus, that took intention. And I love how we've talked this whole time about the product, but never really talked about like how it works. But like it takes 5 minutes. It's a little sachet that you put in your cocktail before you have a drink, and you got to leave that for 5 minutes for allowing that to absorb those things out of
Yeah,
the process that you
yeah.
invented. And you took what could be just, hey, leave that for 5 minutes and blah blah blah, but you took it a step further. Would you share as
Yeah.
we yeah as yeah share that with how that came about? Because I thought it was genius. First of all, like you actually took that moment that is needed for the product to work, and you created a ritual with the person. That's like okay, because I actually did that the other day. It was like I just took 5 minutes to think about how the evening was going to go. Because normally when it's rushy, like when you rush out to somewhere, you're in a rush, and you can't really experience anything except for the rush when you're in it. So it's like kind of before we do the pods, it's like get present to what
100%.
yeah. So I loved share how that came to be because I think it's really, really cool.
Okay. Yeah, we call it the mindfulness, mindful drinking, um, drinking wellness, the new ritual. It's it forces you to slow down, and that's not a bad thing. For a while, I thought that was a negative, because people, including myself, I want my. You go to Starbucks, I want my coffee, I want it now, and then when I get my coffee, I don't want to wait to drink my coffee. Like that, life in general is just we let's go, and I want it now. Um, Alka, it does force you to slow down, and by that, the sachet, when it goes into the drink, it needs 5 minutes of alone time. It needs 5 minutes, and it
Yeah.
needs gentle swirling, to work, and that 5 minutes trust me, it goes way faster than you think it does, right? But it also creates this intention to where you you're now you're present and you have anticipation. Still, every time I use ALKAA, I set my timer, and I think I even bought a 5 minute hourglass timer, right?
I love it.
And it forces you to slow down. So usually set the timer on the phone. Hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes. Enjoy the time with your friends, your mate, your wife, your partner, or just being alone. It's and then you're waiting,
Yeah.
and then you get to take your sachet out and enjoy this new ritual of drinking some alcohol and not feeling the side effects.
I love all this. I love that we were able to dance through this conversation. And I know it could be triggering for folks if they listen to it. If it is like, yay, enjoy the trigger, but understand that trigger is within you. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about these uncomfortables. Let's question the stories that we've got. Let's start thinking outside the box, because as life, when it's in collapse, and I only know this because I've been in that breakthrough transformation space for so long, there's a definite pattern to when things transform, and there's always this shrinking of what's possible before it collapses, and then everything's possible. um and the people that dance on that edge and step outside that feeling that occurs in the body of what other people think or how we're going to be perceived is just that. It's
Yeah.
just a feeling, and our awareness is bigger to it. And it's a way for us to think. It's not like we're two frat boys trying to, figure out how to drink more on the weekend kind of thing. That's not what this was. This was just a really beautiful conversation about a founder that had something that was internal, personal, that wanted to get out to world. And I love that how you shared it, and the take that we had on it today. So I thank you for bringing that to the fore.
My pleasure.
And we all know how to do it. And yeah, open a whole new world for folks. But thank you for being here and sharing your story with us. I love it.
You're welcome. That was really fun.
Yeah. I also appreciate that you listened to your body and you did the route, you did the science, you listened to what other people were quietly losing, and that ability to participate, enjoy the things that we all just kind of accepted. And you're like, hey, I'm going to take a deeper dive and allow us to have a new invitation to looking at something in our own life about how we trust, how we're helping people, that we can have something in our life that's so set in stone. But if we just change the way we look at it, that's something that we're looking at actually changes. And thank you for being a real life example of that today. And maybe today is just the day that we can begin a new conversation with those uncomfortable spaces that we experience in our own body, and what it's trying to communicate to us. Maybe it's trying to give us the next big thing and we just don't know it yet. So give yourself some grace today. Remember, there's no right way. It's just one conscious choice after the other. And with that, we will see you all on the next one. Bye, everyone.